Someday on these Throwback Thursdays, I'm going to put up a big chalkboard. Maybe this would be a good wall for this chalkboard. And I'm going to put on here the list of stories that had me shocked / shocking stories that make me shocked throughout the broadcast. And this story right here would be one of the stories that had me shocked and pissed off at the first place. And this is a story that's on the top of my list. Adriana Kirch, who almost 1 year ago committed suicide after a very viral video that happened that caused bullying, and a school district waited 2 days to respond with a letter. In case you haven't been tuned in, let's take a look.
A 14-year-old girl is ambushed by bullies in her high school hallway. She's hit in the face with a bottle, kicked, and slapped until she blacks out. As she lies there on the floor, she's even taunted by one of her attackers.
That's what you get, stupid.
What makes the attack even more tragic is that the victim, Adriana Kush, took her own life the day after the video was posted on social media. The incident happened here at Central Regional High School in the town of Bayville in southern New Jersey. Some students say bullying is rampant here at the school. And following Adriana's suicide, 3 of the students involved in the attack have been charged with felony assault. I spoke with Adriana's heartbroken father today following the wake for their daughter.
I've watched that video 1,000 times. I went through it second by second, picking out every detail.
It's just got to be hard to watch your daughter. I mean, this is your little
Absolutely.
girl in this video.
I can't tell you how many times I've cried.
Did the school do enough to help Adriana?
School has not done enough to help Adriana or any of these kids. I have multiple mothers reaching out to me, sharing their stories.
What do we want? Justice! Adriana! What do we want? Justice! Adriana!
Angry students staged a walkout from classes today in protest over Adriana's death.
We need justice for her, and we won't stop fighting until we get it.
As you guys are standing here on the side of the road, cars are going by honking their horns in support. It seems like they're agreeing with you.
Yeah, there needs to be a lot of support for this. Everybody, it needs to just stop. They need to put their foot down, and they need to fire half the people at Central Regional High School.
Like I said, on that chalkboard would be the worst stories I've ever talked about. This would be one of the shocking stories that made me pissed off, to where a school district waited days later to write it out. I've always said, if you're going to work for the school district and you're aware of these incidents, you need to write them out the day of. Not the day after, not 2 days after, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 10 days, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 months, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year, and try to cover your own ass. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. But now we're going to hear from the dad.
Mine is sad and very painful story to report, but a story that is so important in the fight against bullying.
A 14-year-old girl dying by suicide in Ocean County, New Jersey, taking her own life.
How her father and video may be tough to watch. Here's Michelle Charlesworth.
Here's the video.
This is the school hallway assault posted online, followed by online bullying that this grieving father said caused his 14-year-old daughter to die by suicide. The cell phone video was taken 1 week ago. Adriana died Friday.
They think it's fun to attack people and make videos and post them. Getting hit in the face with a water bottle didn't hurt Adriana. What hurt Adriana was the embarrassment and humiliation. They just kept coming at her.
Michael Kush has not slept, trying to mourn his daughter and get justice for Adriana. The freshman was hit in the face with a full 20-ounce water bottle 3 times. On the video, punched and kicked, her hair pulled at school while classmates laughed and recorded the attack. What is all of this about? He says seemingly nothing but meanness and bullying. He says his daughter deserved none of this and was tormented after the videos were posted online and then when she saw nasty comments.
Adriana was the most happy, beautiful young lady in the world. She loved animals.
According to the father, 4 girls have been charged now with 3rd-degree felony assault after her death. No confirmation from the prosecutor's office. The school superintendent says in a statement, this was a tragedy.
She blacks out, and they don't call an ambulance. They take her to the nurse's office.
There have been protests by students and parents outside the school saying this kind of thing has got to stop and has happened before. He stresses there was no accountability, no consequences for the 4 girls who went after Adriana. Had there been, she may not have felt so terribly alone. If this were taken seriously, he says, police and ambulance called, and the girls punished immediately, perhaps expelled, he's convinced this would have been very different.
My daughter's never been in a fight before. Literally, she's 98 pounds. She's 5'2", and she loves everybody.
In Bayville, New Jersey, Michelle Charlesworth, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
What a brave father in his grief to do all this and fight.
Very brave. Now just use our hotlines on there. If something like this happens again, just call them up and let them know. We may have more shocking stories in the broadcast, but coming up next, a story that I've talked about years ago, Jehovah's Witnesses. Stay with us. Right after the viral video was posted, and even news outlet media was all over this like flies on a pie, the superintendent, when he saw that video, he immediately resigned, basically stating that this was one of the worst things ever. And I started talking about this, and it made me sick. It really made me sick. This has got to be one of the worst stories ever to talk about on the show. It's basically simple. You don't let them know the day or two after. You let them know the day of. You send out a letter the day of, not the day after, the day of. In other words, the day this happened. I mean, you don't sit there, twiddle your thumbs and say, well, we're not washing our hands on this. Every school district has its own bullying policy. And if it was a state law which says that all school districts must have a bullying policy, then if they didn't have their own bullying policy, they would violate the law and the government would not give them money. This ain't something I'm going to drag my nephew into, but if he was being bullied and I knew about it, I would march up to the damn school and tell him, hey, what are you doing to my nephew, my future singer? Or whoever it may be. If you're not going to do your part to help out a child who is being bullied, you need to step down or resign. And if you hadn't been one of those people, if you're one of those people that just didn't do anything but sit there taking the nurse service, you've got to resign immediately. Don't work in education. Work somewhere else. Get a better job. Like being a clerk at Sears at $10 an hour. That's a great job. But no, you work at the school district because you love kids, teachers. But the dad. But this is the resignation of that superintendent. He didn't do a damn thing but realize the girls were arrested. I mean, I'm glad charges were filed, but still, if that was my child who was being bullied, I would walk up to the girl's parents and say, hey, my daughter tells me you've been beating me. You've been beating these up. You've been beating my child up. You beat her up. Yeah, your daughter's beat my daughter up. Is this true? Right before I got here, I already made a call to the police department. And that's what happens. I mean, there's bullying incidents that happen, and many of us people, we report this to the police. We report this to the police, and obviously they tell the people, well, talk to the school and they'll take care of it. Exactly. Well, not exactly, because they don't know what else to do. They rather just sit there, twiddle their thumbs, and go wash their hands and say, well, we don't care. We're not going to do anything about it. But after all that, there was a board meeting about this. And people there were just outrageous, saying, you should have just let them know beforehand. So we got a portion.
I'm angry and I'm upset with every single one of you guys. You are here to protect the students.
I was bullied out of school by not only students but teachers.
We're terrified we're going to get picked on and bullied and jumped because that's all that's been happening these last few weeks.
Weeks, months, and years of pain and pent-up emotion exploding at this school board meeting in Bayville, New Jersey.
That girl should still be alive. Make a change. Do something. Don't just sit on your butts and push it under the rug like you do every day of your life.
This gathering, the first.
Like, do something. Don't just sit on your butts and push it under the rug like you do every day of your life.
Agreed. That's what school districts do. Whenever they hear problems of bullying, they sit there and go, we don't want to handle this. Let's just... Hey, sweep this on the rug. Hey. Let's not deal with this. Let's put this under the... Hey, let's not deal with this. Hey, let's put this under the rug. Put it on the rug. No one will know about it. Don't push it under the fucking rug. When you deal with issues of bullying and no one else gives a shit, do you know what the school boards do? They just try to sweep it under the carpet and pretend it didn't exist. We're not touching it. We don't want to get contaminated by it. We don't want to wash our hands in it. We don't want to deal with it. Let's move on and everyone will be happy. Nobody can fuck with us because we're the school district. Nobody can fuck with me. No one can fuck with me. I'm the school district. Nobody can fuck with me. It's like resisting arrest. I'm resisting. Look at me. I'm resisting arrest. Now, I'm resisting arrest. But in all seriousness, the board members who should have, the superintendent resign, the rest of the board members who should resign over this. Get up on the butt, get off your ass, go do something for a change.
This gathering, the first since Adriana Kutch, a 14-year-old from Central Regional High School, took her own life earlier this month. Some parents and students saying the school didn't do enough to stop constant bullying.
She was on the floor, blacked out, and you guys didn't do nothing about it.
Her death coming 2 days after video of her being beaten by classmates in the hallway was posted online and then went viral.
Everybody, without exception, who knew Adriana knew she was witty, funny, smart, strong. You know, getting hit in the face with a water bottle didn't hurt Adriana. What hurt Adriana was the embarrassment and humiliation. They just kept coming at her.
Adriana's father, Michael Kutch, saying constant bullying and rumors drove his child to take her own life. The Ocean County Prosecutor's Office confirming to ABC News 4 students seen in that video were charged. 3 of the students were charged with assault-related charges and 1 charged with harassment. Adriana's death, part of what some are calling a nationwide mental health crisis involving teenage girls. According to a CDC report published last week, 57% of teenage girls, a record high, said they felt persistently sad or hopeless in 2021. That's up from 36% in 2011. The CDC also reporting suicide is now the second leading cause of death among all adolescents. Rosalind Wiseman studies youth culture and is the best-selling author.
And if you know what I mean, you know what I mean here. We don't need any of this crap happening. We don't need none of it happening. Bullying is just the worst issue ever. It's the reason why kids don't want to go to school, because of bullying. There's counselors out there, and in this case right here, nobody did a damn thing. Nobody did a damn thing. And if I was that principal, superintendent, I would have done something about it. I would have had those people suspended with pay or without pay, and called upon an emergency meeting to say, let's find a way to handle this so that way it doesn't happen again. I would be a town hero. Policies put in place. Let's not have this happen again. Because I don't want to see it ever happen again. Because if it did, I wouldn't even be here. Coming up, Jehovah's Witnesses, all about sexual abuse from Jehovah's Witnesses. John Larson has witness for the prosecution. Stay with us. Going back to our Adriana Kurtz story, where was the common sense 9 months ago? Where was the common sense? We need less education, more common sense. Common sense would have seemed to me this would be taken care of. This would have been handled properly, taken care of, and they should have just taken care of this properly. If they weren't taking care of it properly, she might still be alive. She never would have committed suicide. But no. Every time we hear stories of people being bullied, it's always the kids who don't want to go back to school. It's always the kids. They say they don't want to go back to school. That's all they say. That's all they say. Last season, I brought you a story about one person about people who have came forward to say that they have been sexually abused by members of a group called Jehovah's Witnesses. I didn't actually show you. Y'all saw my reaction to a Dateline story that I played for y'all right before this angle came apart. It was all about the Catholic Church sexually abusing them. Now, earlier this season we did a story about Secrets No More where Father Porter went in and Father Inciato shut the door and didn't do a damn thing. It's different from Jehovah's Witnesses who simply tell them not to report it. Tonight, you're going to meet one woman who came forward to tell her story about when she was sexually abused by a member of the Jehovah's Witness. And maybe you can decide whether this was true or false. Tonight, you'll be the judge. Is Erica Garza lying or telling the truth for others to come forward and say that this had happened to them, when in fact it could happen to me, to you, and other members? Here's John Larson.
In a small town like Othello, Washington, neighbors are often friends, and friends like family. Which makes the story you're about to hear even more painful. Because for Erica Garza, who grew up here, there was no one closer, no one she trusted more than her parents' best friend.
You would have never known by looking at him or by the way he acted, what he was doing on the side.
What that friend, Manuel Belize, was doing was molesting Erica, sexually abusing her. She says it started when she was just 5 years old.
I remember it just like it was yesterday.
What was your reaction when he first started touching you?
I didn't know any better. Just remember it hurt. Out of anything, I just remember the hurt.
A hurt that grew, she says, because her molester pressured her to keep it all a secret. And while that may not be surprising, this isn't a story about a molester trying to stay in the shadows. This is a story about others who may have played a role not only in Erica's abuse, but the abuse of other victims as well.
They didn't care about what had happened. Everything they did was trying to hide the facts.
Both Erica and her molester were members of the same church, Jehovah's Witnesses.
Are you taking part in the preaching work where...
Jehovah's Witnesses are evangelical Christians, best known for going door to door handing out Awake magazine. Jehovah's Witnesses have 6 million members worldwide and some controversial rules. No birthdays or Christmas, no blood transfusions, no military service, no saluting the flag. all of which separates them, sometimes even isolates them from mainstream America. In fact, in the world of Jehovah's Witnesses, anyone outside the church, most of you watching tonight, are considered part of Satan's world, a world which, as depicted in the church's literature, will be destroyed by God. True Jehovah's Witnesses, those who closely follow the church's rules, will survive to live forever on a perfect earth. But now there are accusations that the church, run out of its headquarters in New York called the Watchtower Society, is covering up cases of child molestation, protecting molesters, and keeping secrets that put children at risk. Consider what happened to Erica Garza. By the time she was 16, Erica's family had moved away from Othello to a new home and New Kingdom Hall in California, where one day she found the courage to tell her family her terrible secret. And what did her father, Reuben Garza, do?
Report it to the police?
No, never mentioned report it to the police. Take care of it in the congregation.
Reuben Garza, who was one of the church's lay ministers or elders, says that's precisely what Jehovah's Witness leaders had taught him. And so instead of going to the police, he and his wife Alejandra called the elders back in Othello.
But let me say the obvious. I mean, your daughter had been raped. Didn't you think, I gotta go to the cops?
That was my first reaction. But as a witness, first you gotta go to the elders when you have a problem.
But the elders didn't go to the police either. Why? Well, legally, they didn't have to. Only 16 states require clergy members to report any and all suspected child abuse, and Washington State is not one of them. Instead, church elders opened their own internal investigation. It's one of the things that sets Jehovah's Witnesses apart from most other religious groups. The church has its own judicial system. Whenever a church member is accused of doing something wrong, whether it's breaking a church rule like smoking, committing a sin like adultery, or even committing a crime like rape, the local church appoints a special committee of elders to investigate the charge. Now, if the accused is found guilty, they can be reprimanded, or in worst cases, kicked out of the church, disfellowshipped, potentially cut off from their friends and family, losing their chance, they believe, at everlasting life. For a Jehovah's Witness, there can be no greater punishment.
You did your best, baby.
Erica Garza expected her molester would, at the very least, be disfellowshipped. But after 5 months of waiting for the church in Othello to act, she got angry and did the unthinkable.
So I called my elders and I said, look, I'm taking it to the police.
What did they say?
Don't. Or else.
Or else what?
That's what I said. I said, or else what? And he said, just don't. I said, what? I'll be disfellowshipped? If I take it to the police, is that what's going to happen to me? And he said, yes, you will be disfellowshipped. And I was just like, what? You're going to disfellowship me for being raped, yet the guy who raped me is still a Jehovah's Witness? And they said, don't. Don't take it to the police. You will be condemned by God.
It was October 1996, and Erica says she finally decided whatever the penalty, she had to go to the police. Following an investigation, Manuel Belize was charged with molestation and rape. And the church? Erica says her California Kingdom Hall not only shunned her, but shunned her family as well.
What happened?
Was removed as an elder.
So they kicked you out?
Yes, they did.
Erica felt abused, abandoned by her church, and alone. But what she couldn't have known was that it would be 4 more years before another Jehovah's Witness. This time, an elder 2,000 miles away would take a special interest in Erica's case. The elder had uncovered evidence, he says, that there were many more victims like Erica within Witness Kingdom Halls. And now he, too, was about to break with the church and go outside into what witnesses believe is the realm of Satan, the outside world, to expose the church's secrets.
You talking to me right now, it's like you're talking to Satan.
That's correct. I'm attacking God, is what they've said about
In the view of the church, sitting down with us right now.
Yes.
Bill Bowen is a candle maker in Kentucky and a lifelong Jehovah's Witness. It all began, he says, about 2 years ago, when he was filing confidential church records at the local Kingdom Hall and stumbled on this letter. It described an admission dating back to the 1980s, a molestation case that he says the church had swept under the rug.
About how old was this child that was involved in this case?
As I reviewed the material, it appeared to me she was about 11 years of age.
And the admitted molester? A man Bowen knew well, a fellow elder who got only a slap on the wrist from the church and was never reported to police. Outraged, Bowen put a message on the internet to see if there were other similar cases. The response, he says, was an avalanche of pain and frustration.
These were all Jehovah's Witnesses that had been molested and silenced within the church.
Bill Bowen is not saying Jehovah's Witnesses have more molesters than any other religious group. The problem, he says, is how the church handles the cases that come to its attention. Like the case of Daniel Fitzwater, a Jehovah's Witness elder in Nevada. Bowen discovered that according to the church's own internal records, church officials knew of 17 girls who had accused Fitzwater of molesting them. But police say the church never passed that information on to them. Bowen also learned that in New Hampshire, Paul Berry beat and sexually tortured his stepdaughter Holly Brewer from the time she was 4. But Holly's mother says that when she complained to church elders that Berry was beating Holly and her other kids, the elders told her to be a better wife and to pray more. She also says they never informed police as required by state law. The church denies that, saying she never told them of the abuse. Holly later ran away from home and says she disfigured herself with tattoos and piercings in response to the abuse.
It started out by me internalizing the pain. It really did. It started by me, I want to mess myself up. I want to make myself look as ugly as I can. I don't want any guys to hit on me. I don't want to be attractive to people.
Both Paul Berry in New Hampshire and Daniel Fitzwater in Nevada ultimately were convicted of sexual crimes and are now in prison. But Bill Bowen says many others in the church accused of sexual abuse have never been reported to police. It's a claim he says he's heard, though not verified, from several hundred current and former church members. His conclusion? Disturbing, to say the least.
It's a pedophile paradise within the organization. I believe that.
What's the danger that you've been consumed by this to the point that you've blown it all out of proportion? I mean, pedophile paradise? Come on.
I believe with all my heart there is a massive problem in the organization.
But Bill Bowen is just one man in one congregation in Kentucky. This woman, Barbara Anderson, worked for a decade inside Jehovah's Witness headquarters. When Anderson saw Bowen's messages on the internet, she says she realized she had to tell him there was much more to the story, involving children in many of the 11,000 congregations across the country.
I don't believe that they're safe within their church.
Anderson was a researcher at the Watchtower Society in the early 1990s, when a senior official there asked her to look into the church's handling of sexual abuse cases. What she found, she says, sickened her. Hundreds of molestation cases on record, all kept secret in church files. Secret not only from the outside world, but from the members themselves, the families, the mothers, fathers, and children who trust the church is looking out for them.
I believe that if they ask to see the congregation records, they will find that there are many envelopes with letters that discuss men or women in the congregation that were accused of molesting a child.
In fact, Anderson gave Dateline a copy of this letter, written in 1992 by a psychotherapist, a Jehovah's Witness himself, who said he'd treated many witnesses who told him they'd been molested. And he had personally dealt with a number of elders who were more interested in suppressing a matter of abuse.
Did the research that you did, talking to these therapists, these psychiatrists, and the victims themselves, did it change the way you thought about the church and what was going on behind closed doors?
Yes, because the Watchtower Society didn't want to acknowledge that these girls were telling the truth because they were accusing elders of molesting them.
Why would the church want to keep these cases secret and in-house? Anderson agrees that part of the problem is the church's distrust of the outside world, But she says it's not that simple. Anderson says when church elders investigate crimes like child molestation, they follow instructions that may prevent them from taking action. Ancient instructions taken from the Bible itself.
They basically use a scripture in 1 Timothy 5:19 that states you're not to make an accusation against an older man unless there are 2 or 3 witnesses.
What are the odds that there are going to be 2 or 3 witnesses to an older man molesting an 8-year-old girl?
No molester is going to have any witnesses, that's for sure.
The sum in total of their investigation will be going to a pedophile and say, did you do it? Nope. Well, okay. Guess we better go on then. Sorry we bothered you. Did he ask any questions?
Bill Bowen says if you want to get an idea of how the church sweeps cases under the rug,
Good afternoon, Watchtower.
just listen to part of a conversation Bowen recorded a little over a year ago with an official in the Jehovah's Witness legal department.
Good afternoon, legal department.
Bowen calls seeking advice on how to handle a suspected molestation case involving a young girl and her father. Instead of being told to report it to the police, Bowen is told to confront the suspected abuser.
You just ask him again, now, is there anything to this? If he says no, then I would walk away from it.
Yeah.
Leave it for Jehovah. He'll bring it out.
Yeah.
But don't get yourself in a jam.
Again, there was no insistence that this matter be brought to the authorities in the outside world. Bowen says he was so upset by the whole case, he resigned as a church elder and vowed to help abuse victims. He didn't know that halfway across the country, Erica Garza was feeling the same frustration as she prepared to face her molester in court.
Did any of those elders, any of the people in the church, stand up and speak on your behalf?
No. Oh, you're welcome.
But Erica Garza was about to find out that she wasn't really all alone.
And she wasn't all alone. When we come back, the conclusion of John Larson's story. Will Erica Garza finally get justice? Or will the church sweep it under the rug? And what does Jehovah's Witnesses Watchtower have to say? All that and more coming up. Stay with us. Now the conclusion to our story. When she was just 5 years old, Erica Garza says she was raped by a member of Jehovah's Witnesses. Now remember, this was years ago. They told her not to report to the police. Now she's going into court. Will she win her case, or will she lose her case? And what does the Watchtower have to say when Dateline confronts them? Once again, John Larson.
Erica Garza's accused molester, Manuel Belize, showed up in court with plenty of support.
His side was full of Jehovah's Witnesses. People I thought were my friends, but they were there to support him. And on my side was my family.
Even though Belize had apparently confessed his crimes to church elders, it appeared to make little difference. He was expelled from the church, but only temporarily. Elders allowed him to rejoin the church before the trial. John White, the congregation's top elder, explained at a court hearing.
We're satisfied that he was repentant and could be admitted to the congregation again. To us, we don't see a problem.
White also told the court that when a church member is called before the elders and admits to a crime, they consider it a religious confession, and that just like a priest or rabbi, he and other elders have good reason not to testify about it in court.
Jehovah's Witnesses do not want to harbor criminals or dangerous people, but we want the confidentiality because if that's taken away from us, why should a person ever confess anything?
Did anybody say we understand the pain that this girl has gone through?
They said they feel sorry for me.
Even without the church's help or the testimony of elders who Erica says knew what had happened, in August of 1998, Manuel Belize was convicted, guilty on 2 counts of rape and 2 counts of child molestation. He was sentenced to 11 and a half years in prison. But 2 years into his term, his conviction was overturned on a technicality over how the jury had been selected. Erica had stood up, faced her abuser, even challenged her church. But now, he was being let out of prison.
I was so disappointed. I was sad. I was heartbroken, and I didn't know what to do.
Manuel Belize was released from prison to await a new trial. Last summer, Dateline found him back at the Kingdom Hall, about to join others going door to door, evangelizing for the church.
And it just makes me so sad because I was raped and I'm being shunned, and he raped me, and he's being loved. It gives me chills up my spine just to think about it.
How do Jehovah's Witness leaders respond to complaints that they're trying to bury cases like Erica's? They declined our request for an on-camera interview, but spoke to us off-camera and provided us with a videotaped policy statement by spokesman J.R. Brown.
Jehovah's Witnesses feel child abuse is an evil. It's an evil of our time. It's an evil in our society. And so we abhor it.
Church officials say they publish articles like this, educating members and training elders how to help abuse victims. The church also says elders are required to investigate any allegations of abuse, and steps are taken to protect alleged victims from further abuse. And while officials acknowledge that molesters who repent are readmitted to the church, they say known molesters are not allowed to hold a position of responsibility within the church. They also insist that the church complies with all laws on reporting abuse in those states where it's required, even when there's only one witness to the crime. But in states where churches are not required to report, they say they do not discourage victims from reporting abuse to authorities.
When it comes to the matter of reporting, then that's something that parents can decide. We certainly never tell them not to report a case of child molestation.
In a letter to Dateline, the church's general counsel adds that it is possible that a few of the 77,799 elders of Jehovah's Witnesses have not followed the direction that they have been given regarding investigating and reporting child abuse. What remains unanswered, though, is why the church gets involved at all with investigating what are criminal matters. And just how often do they turn one of their own into authorities? We asked the church for some examples, proof that they're as tough as they say they are on members who abuse children. The church waited 6 months, but finally offered us 2 cases. And right away, we noticed something. In both cases, the victims were Jehovah's Witnesses, but their alleged molesters were not. They were non-believers from outside the church. But, in fact, we could only find 2 cases where the church took an active role in turning in one of its own, including the case of this man, Clement Pandello. Pandello, seen here in family videos, confessed to church elders he molested his own granddaughter. How did the church handle it? The parents of the young victim, Pandello's own son and daughter-in-law, also Jehovah's Witnesses, told Dateline the church pressured them to agree to a deal in which Pandello pled guilty to criminal sexual contact and endangering the welfare of a child. He was given only probation, no jail time. And what did the church elders tell Barbara and Carl Pandello?
We should just let it go. That it's not Jehovah's time to deal with it.
The church says that's not true. And the church apparently did disfellowship Clement Pandello 2 separate times. But each time, they welcomed him back. So where is this convicted child molester today? A man who, according to court records, has admitted molesting girls all his life. Dateline found him going door to door, a Jehovah's Witness in good standing, evangelizing to people who know nothing about his record. His own son, Carl, says the church should know better.
He's a sexual predator. When he goes door to door, he has a craving for young juvenile girls, as he puts it. He's looking at that child, having those immoral thoughts in his mind while he's there.
You know, the church now says they don't have a special problem. It's a societal problem, and they do everything they can to stop pedophiles from hurting children within the Jehovah's Witness church. What do you say to them?
Liars.
Even though her accused rapist had been freed on a technicality, Erica Garza was not about to let him off the hook. Last summer, nearly 5 years after she first came forward, Erica headed back to court. Once again, not one Jehovah's Witness from her former church came to support her. But this time, she wasn't alone.
Comments we've made from all over the country.
That outspoken elder from Kentucky, Bill Bowen, was there.
Raise up seeing things.
And Bowen had set up a new support group for sexually abused Jehovah's Witnesses. And more than 20 people who had heard about the case through his website were there to support Erica.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. These are people who don't know me, who flew from all over the place for me, to be there for me, because they realized, hey, you didn't do anything wrong. And it was so encouraging to see people there for me, as opposed for him.
In court, Manuel Belize took the stand. He denied molesting Erica, but did admit touching her inappropriately. Once again, Belize was found guilty.
Guilty.
Erica Garza says she has found justice in spite of her church.
Oh, I can't believe it. On all 4 counts.
Justice, a little bit of justice. You deserve it.
Thank you, God. Thank you, Lord.
Her molester has been sent to prison for 11 and a half years.
Thank you for all your help, Bill.
You'll sleep well tonight, won't you?
Oh, yeah.
All Erica wants now, she says, is for the church to change its policy and give molestation victims simple advice.
Take it to the police. Hey, encourage me to take it to the police. Don't tell me not to.
Erica Garza and Holly Brewer are both suing the Watchtower Society and their local congregations. The church is fighting the lawsuits. The church also told Dateline that while some known pedophiles still go door to door, they are not allowed to do so alone. Finally, 4 of the people Dateline interviewed, former elder Bill Bowen, Barbara Anderson, and Carl and Barbara Pendello, are facing possible expulsion from their congregations.
Now, after I talked about this, there was a comment. There was a comment on my video, on that episode that I talked about. I'm gonna try to put the comment on. I'm gonna try to. We talked about this almost a year ago. How many times am I going to have to go over this with you guys? Violence in schools. This was one of the comments from at Mr. DC3 1914. The Bible teaches that Jesus was made as a Lord and Christ and Son. Coming and being made. This is basically all from the Bible. And I applauded this person for commenting this. I really do. So, there ain't no common sense about this. But we're going to take a break. And we'll have more Throwback Thursday when we continue. Stay with us. If that chalkboard back there would exist, it would have the top worst stories I've ever talked about. One would be Adriana Kirch. Another story would be the renovation plan that happened. If you didn't remember, there was a viral video that happened 1 year ago. 1 year ago, there were students who made a viral video all about the conditions of maintenance issues, light bulbs, all this. That led to a superintendent being fired. Take a look.
At 11 o'clock, the former superintendent for DeKalb County Schools speaking out tonight. Just hours after her firing, the school board voted.
This morning, students at Druid Hills High School face another setback in their ongoing push to address them.
Okay, here's that video.
Mold on the walls,
Look at
holes in the ceiling, and a threat of electrocution.
It's like, do not touch the pole. Do not touch the outlets on the pole. Electric shock. What the hell? I mean, look at this. There is mold.
Mold on the walls, holes in the...
Mold on the walls. There's holes in the ceiling. Look at this. This is the worst. This is one of the... This makes me sick. Makes me sick. It'd be number 2. It'd be number 4. I mean, it'd be number 2 on the top of the chart of this chalkboard right here.
In the ceiling and a threat of electrocution. Druid Hills High School students say their building is falling apart, but the DeKalb County School Board recently removed it from its priority list of renovations.
After seeing the video they captured, you might be asking, how? Caitlin Ross spoke to students now making a passionate plea for help.
The students who made the video say it's impossible to tell from the outside just how bad the issues that they're talking about are. That's why they wanted everyone to be able to see inside the school for themselves.
Human waste tends to flow up from up it and flood this area right here, which is known as our senior picnic area.
Druid Hills senior Towns Purdy worked with his classmates to expose conditions at the high school in an 8-minute video that was just released online.
These signs right here say not touch the poles or the outlets, right? Because we are at risk of electrical shock when we get anywhere near them.
Other students show crumbling bathrooms, mold on the walls, a broken elevator, and water damage throughout the building. Towns' dad says he was shocked to see all the problems inside the school.
I knew things were bad, but seeing that video is shocking. In fact, I'm a little surprised the school's not getting shut down today.
Nick Purdy says he's proud of his son and all of the students, asking to have a safe place to learn.
Well, we spent the last 2 years talking about safety in public schools and dealing with COVID and being really strict with rules around that, and yet we're allowing these kids and teachers to be in an environment every day that's clearly unsafe.
We're not asking for too much. I don't think we're asking for things we need in order to succeed in life. Safety is the #1 word we're all saying.
Druid Hills High School was on the DeKalb County Schools priority list for renovations, with $52 million allocated to improvements. But in a February meeting, the board removed the school from the list and said it would revisit the plans at a later date. In a statement Tuesday, the district said there is a proposal to renovate the school at the next board meeting, but the students say that's not good enough.
It's hard to have a positive learning environment while you're facing all these conditions. They're not prioritizing our learning.
The next school board meeting is Monday, and they say they all plan to be there.
After that board meeting, the superintendent came up with a plan, and that led to her being fired. It led to her being fired. Now you're gonna hear.
This morning, students at Druid Hills High School.
Breaking at
But now the superintendent's gonna respond after all these allegations.
Breaking at 11 o'clock. The former superintendent for DeKalb County Schools speaking out tonight. Just hours after her firing, the school board voting to part ways with Cheryl Watson Harris at a meeting this evening. And it comes amid outcry over alleged mishandling of taxpayer dollars for much-needed school renovations. A video produced by students showing leaky ceilings, rusty equipment, and deterioration.
CBS 46's Patrick Quinn live tonight in DeKalb County. And Patrick, you spoke with one board member just moments right after that vote.
That's right, and I also was able to text with Cheryl Watson Harris herself. She told me she was caught off guard by this latest action, and in a text message again just moments ago, she told me she was, quote, blindsided by the board's action. She said they were on a Zoom meeting, and she was suddenly, quote, released from the Zoom meeting without notice. She said, I have not received any formal notification from the Board of Education chair or vice chair. Nonetheless, Watson Harris has been fired, effective immediately.
Cheryl Watson Harris is out as superintendent of DeKalb County Schools. In one of her final interviews, she told me last week she felt the storm brewing after the board voted against major renovations to Druid Hills High School.
This situation has caused angst in our community, questions from our scholars, but we are better together.
Better together? The board didn't think so, instead naming Dr. Vasan Tinsley as the interim superintendent. In an email, a spokesperson for the board said they expect Dr. Tinsley to be the leader the community currently needs. But not everyone on the board backed this decision.
I'm really sad. I think this is not a great day for DeKalb County.
Marshall Orson said it's unfair to pin the current controversy over school renovations on Watson Harris, who arrived June 2020.
What happened with Druid Hills was a decision of the Board of Education, not a decision of the superintendent.
I think it's BS that they're taking her out.
Joey Kukin, who graduated from Druid Hills in 2020, said a lot of the issues inside the school, highlighted in a recent student-made video, existed before Watson Harris's reign.
It's just them trying to use her, like I said, as a scapegoat because it's giving the pressure off of the school board.
In an email, the board cites a loss of confidence in Watson Harris's leadership through tough challenges as a reason for this split. For Orson, a board member himself, he said this decision reflects badly on the DeKalb County School Board.
And this is harmful, I think, to our students. And as just a citizen, as a former parent, I would be concerned.
And now starts the process of finding the next superintendent of DeKalb County Schools, a process I'm told is expected to take months, all while consequential decisions like when and how to renovate Druid Hills High School hangs in the balance. Live in DeKalb County, Patrick Quinn, CBS 46 News.
But there are probably more plans to be put in place. And everyone has their own excuses. Now, 9 months, now almost a year ago, they're now approving funding for all the repairs. That plan's going to include a $700 million cost. Take a look.
That's right. Good afternoon, Cheryl. So in the last few minutes, leaders did approve that scope of projects in the Capital Improvement and SLOSS 6 plan. They say that those scope projects will estimate about $700 million. They approved a building a new Sequoia High School and Middle School, a new Dredston Elementary School, a new Cross Keys Middle School, and modernizing Druid Hills High School. As you mentioned, Druid Hills made headlines last year when students produced a video showing mold, plumbing, electrical, and flooding issues inside the school. Other projects in the plan include $80 million for security, as well as $69 million for additional facility condition projects at various schools. And the money from all of this, of course, coming from that sales tax. I'll have more tonight at 5 on how long leaders say this project could take.
So if I were to guess, it would take years to make that project. 1 year at a time, 1 or 2 years at a time, or a month, or 1 month or 2 at a time. Like 2 months or 4 months. So if there's any new developments, we will keep you posted. And we'll be right back. Now look ahead to Friday's show.
Tonight, a groundbreaking investigation. 2020 goes deep inside the Church of Scientology to show you the raging controversy.
What's so secret with this organization? What's so secret with this area?
You'll meet the critics.
As the door was closing behind me, I didn't know it was a trap.
And the converted.
I took a course, and my life has never been the same.
A movement that's attracted some of the biggest stars in Hollywood, but left some people devastated.
I felt that my husband should have rescued me.
For the first time, you'll see how disciples reach a higher state with a device called an e-meter.
Thank you very much. Your needle is floating.
Thank you.
What if we have found something that does work? Isn't that worth a look?
But you'll hear what some say happens to those who stray. Claims of being locked away in prison camps.
There was no way for anyone to reach me.
And listen to what this man says about the Dirty Tricks campaign he waged against defectors.
These were enemies of the church. You find their weak spot and you expose it. You literally destroy them.
Plus, disturbing accusations about the mysterious death of a young believer.
They chose to keep her inside the hotel and watch her die.
Scientology, one of the most controversial religions of our times.
You can look at the origins of almost every religion in the first so many years they're attacked.
Do you feel that you need to defend Scientology?
No, never.
Tom Gerald with a rare inside look at Scientology, persecuted religion. or paranoid and secretive cult? You decide. The Church of Scientology.
That's tomorrow. That's Game Break Throwback Thursday. We're gonna be off for a few weeks, so we'll see you the week after Thanksgiving for another Throwback Thursday, and we'll see you again for Game Break Friday. For all of us here at YouTube, good night.